Welcome to Ranting at Cameras in Cars. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Lynda.
Hi.
Hello. What have you got to rant about, Lynda?
I'm quite calm today, however, I think it would be rude not to rant and have a discussion about, obviously, this petrol business that's going on at the minute.
The shortage of drivers, which is leading to a shortage of petrol. So it's not actually a shortage of petrol, it's supposedly a shortage of drivers delivering the petrol.
But it was only apparently to like one or two garages, so there wasn't any fuss. And Boris even said nobody panic buy, but yet everyone has gone and panic bought, just like they did last year with the toilet roll and everything else.
So they're not listening to what Boris says.
Which is funny because they like listening to him normally, don't they?
So when Boris says stay 2 metres apart, don't be with your friends, have this vaccine, everyone's up for it and they're like, yeah, alright, we'll do that. But when he says don't be a cunt and nick everything for everyone else, there's enough to go around, they don't want to listen.
Yeah, a bit annoying.
Why do you think that is?
Because people are idiots.
Everyone?
No, not everyone. I think the problem is you get the people panic buying and then normal people are then worried because they need petrol, obviously, if you're low or whatever, and then you've then got a queue, haven't you, for an hour to get it because you need to get to work and stuff. So it's a cycle, isn't it? It's a circle that just keeps going round. Because at some point, obviously, I will need to get petrol. And then when I look like one of them wankers, when I'm queuing up to get it because I'm actually going to need to get it. Like, what do you do? Like, I'm going to have to queue for an hour when I need to get it because I need my vehicle to work and to take my child to school and stuff. So it's difficult, isn't it?
So you've got a daughter, isn't it?
Yes.
She's 12.
Yes.
How do you feel about the vaccinations being approved for 12 to 16-year-olds?
Yeah. No, thank you.
Why
No,
not?
thank you.
Why?
Well, I'm not obviously going to have it myself, and I don't think really anybody needs it, let alone a healthy young person that we don't know what it's going to do to in the future. And I'm sure even when things do happen to people in the future, it won't be put down to having this vaccine. It'll be, just loads of people keep getting sort of neurological problems. Just one of them things, or whatever. But I'm not willing to put my daughter up to be a guinea pig, to be honest.
So you haven't had the vaccine yourself?
I have not.
And you're going with the government scientists' recommendation of not vaccinating your 12-year-old?
Well, I'm not going because of them. I wouldn't have done it anyway.
No, but that's what the government scientists
Yeah.
recommended to not prove it, yet the
Yeah.
government went ahead and did it anyway.
Because they do have, I have read something, or I saw something yesterday, something about Gordon Brown saying that we've got like 100 million doses of vaccine that's going to, the expiry date is Christmas, is December. And yet there's other places in the world that are not getting enough of it. So what are they going to do in December? Are they going to chuck away all these batches that they've paid for with our money? And they're going to have gone to waste. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's something that...
So you don't want to have the vaccine, but you're bothered about vaccine waste?
No, I'm worried about the money that our money is spending on something that I don't want it spent on, as well as having to bail out now. Here we go, now I'm going to get on one now.
Yes.
So obviously all this stuff where there's not enough gas, so the government have bailed out these companies, which is tens of millions of pounds. That we have bailed them out for something because we were locked down and it was shut and production stopped, something that I didn't want, that has affected everybody, and now still more tens of millions of pounds still now. And then other thing, it's just going on and on and on. The problems caused by the lockdowns far outweighs the deaths from COVID, in my opinion.
COVID inverted commas.
Yeah, because it's on the death certificate, it doesn't mean that's what they've died of, does it?
Yes.
Or within 28 days of a positive test.
I mean, no one actually knows how many people have died of COVID. But
No.
It's probably quite a small percentage of the... It's quite a small percentage of the 134,000 people that we supposedly in the UK have died of it. But yeah, with the energy companies, like I saw the other day that there was something like 82 energy suppliers, and so many of them have gone bust because of the shortage of power. It's not just gas, it's also power in general. There's now 10, and 6 of those 10 need bailing out. Is that kind of, do you think that's kind of maybe designed to sort of
make the bigger companies survive so they earn all the money again, so it's only big companies that are surviving everything, like with small businesses having to shut left, right and centre because of it? It's all just part of the plan, isn't it, really?
So you think that there's a plan to destroy small business?
Yes, to make more people reliant on a very small selection of people that will hold lots of power and control over everything that we do.
So
Which is never good. You need competition to make things fairer, and there's going to be less competition in all areas.
So do you think that it's a direct plan to give a few energy companies all the power, or do you think it's a knock-on result of the lockdown which shouldn't happen and you're not happy about? So do you think it was planned that it went like this, or it's just something that's happened as a result of the lockdown?
Well, I think that they must have known that this was going to happen. So therefore, it makes me feel like there is an element of it, things being planned, because they know that doing that will have that result. These are meant to be intelligent people. There's analysts that look at things all the time about how things are going with our economy and everything that's going on constantly. That's people's jobs to do that, right? So surely, do they not foresee this? So how has this just come upon us and been like, oh, what a surprise? Do we really believe that that is so much of a surprise? I don't. The problem is now I don't know whether it is just a knock-on because of it or whether it's planned, because I just don't know what to believe and not believe anymore.
Okay. So who are they?
Who are they?
When you say they planned this, or they have doing this, who are they?
Yeah, who are they? Well, it's bigger than just, it's not our government, is it? It's bigger than our government.
So who are they? Big corporations? Shadow governments?
Yeah,
the Illuminati?
All of the above.
Who's pulling the strings? The Illuminati? What are you gonna do? Kill them with a party? That's a lyric from a song that I wrote about the pandemic, by the way. I'm dropping a few in these little chats. But yeah, so who are they? Make it all about me, but who are they?
Who are they? I don't know. I mean, it depends how far you want to go back with it, doesn't it? I don't know, really. I don't know.
If you think that they are planning something, you kind of
I don't know. That's sort
have
of
to have an idea of who they are. I mean, there's got to be.
Well, there's a few families that seem to just run what goes on in the world,
Like
in general. Like
which families would they be?
well, like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and people like that. That's so ultimately, I'm going to put it all the way back to that.
The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers financed both sides of World War II. So not only did they loan USA and Britain money, they also loaned Germany money.
Oh. Well, there you go. That's not that surprising, is it?
And apparently, as far as whoever told me this was, or where I read it was, every war since the Napoleonic War has been financed by the Rockefellers and the other cunts.
Well, yeah, one of them families, aren't they the ones that's how the doctors started in the first place? Wasn't he into oil? Wasn't he oil?
Rockefellers.
Yeah. And then let's just make up this thing, and this is what doctors do, and this is the book you learn from, and this is how you do it. And don't listen to them witches over there that are giving out these things. Let's make some money with some drugs instead and set up pharmaceutical.
So Big Pharma run.
Yeah.
So Big Pharma run everything.
Maybe.
I did see the other day that the FDA, who are what regulates Big Pharma in the USA, are financed by Big Pharma.
Yeah, they are, which completely doesn't make it independent at all, does it?
Doesn't make it impartial, does it?
That's like me saying, right, it's okay to start, I don't know.
See, if you're going to have an
then
analogy set up,
yeah,
I'd have it first
there.
before.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. You're allowed to start beating your child again, and then it's all right because I'm gonna set up this company that says that's all right to do that. I'm just gonna like set up my own. I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's having a regulatory body which is funded by the people they're sort of regulating is quite dodgy.
Yeah.
But I think that the way I read it was so if they put forward something, it costs them a fee, and part of that fee goes to the FDA. So it's not like, you know, when corporations fund political parties, where the corporations might give a certain political party millions for their campaign, and then afterwards expect favours. It's not quite the same as that. It's more like to be regulated, you have to pay us money.
So it's like being a plumber and having to be gas safe registered, and you have to pay them a yearly fee to be gas safe registered.
Yeah, which is acceptable, isn't it?
See, I think all that's a load of shit as well, because then you have to have like things analysed by them, so you have to do things through them, otherwise you can't test a boiler, for example. You can't do a gas safety test on a boiler unless you've got this analyzer, and that analyzer has to be calibrated every year by them, by a specific company. So it's like ways that you have to go to them. So it is.
The reason for that is safety.
Well, so they say. That's the excuse they give. Now,
so we can look at that, and we can look at before Corgi and all that were how many gas related injuries there were, and then afterwards. So we can actually.
I know a lot of plumbers that are gas safe registered that really shouldn't be. Or I know plumbers that use somebody else's gas safe number and things like that, for example. That's like quite common to do. It's quite a common thing to do. That's like me being a dental nurse and having to be registered with the GDC, which is the General Dental Council, like doctors and nurses do with the General Medical Council, and I have to pay them a fee every year. And now that is so that it shows that as a dental nurse or as a dentist or whatever, that you have to do a certain amount of continual personal development and courses and stuff to show that you're up with what you're doing.
So it's keeping the standards high of the
apparently, but
it doesn't.
No, I don't think
so. So for your fee that you pay, what happens with that?
I just get registered and I can work then.
So apart from that, nothing else.
I have to show them every year, which as a nurse or whatever, you have to sometimes pay to do some of that CPD yourself. You have to input it all on their system, and you have to have done a certain amount of hours within a 5-year cycle. 150 hours it is. You have to do 50 verifiable and 100 unverified. So that might be online courses, you know, health and safety, this cross-infection, that, hand washing, child protection,
So you do have to, as part of that, you do have to prove that you have had the training and you are keeping up with your...
Yeah.
So in the eyes of a dental patient, which I've been recently, like that's quite reassuring for me to know that actually the dentists and the nurses are constantly being updated with new information and the right information.
It sort of is, but it sort of isn't though. Like,
so what's the drawbacks from the dental patient's point of view?
From the patient's point of view, it doesn't necessarily mean that dentist or that nurse is any better than someone that is not necessarily up to date with it. But so from people that don't know's point of view, yeah, it does look really good. And I'm sure like there are things that you do pick up, but you don't really learn a great deal, to be honest. It's just something that you've got to do. Dentists, fine, they earn enough money to warrant. They pay more. I think they pay £700 or £800 a year to be registered, and a nurse is like £115. But dental nurses don't earn very much at all. You're not on a banding system like normal nurses. You can be paid just a little bit more than minimum wage to then have to pay that out, have to pay indemnity insurance, risk catching.
Yeah, I mean
lots of things. Like it's
across
wrong.
Lots of professions that's similar, but what we're looking at is like the regulatory body. So you pay to fund them, and they regulate your work.
Yeah.
And so through that, they ensure that you're trained, etc., but not much else.
Yeah,
So
it's like
that's
check a trade, isn't it? It's like someone will go to checkatrade.com or whatever because they want somebody, if they don't know somebody that's an electrician and they want something done, they want somebody who's shows that they're reliable. There's plenty, they just pay to be on there. You just pay to be on these things. It doesn't mean
So
that
can
you're
you
any
can you
better.
operate as a dental nurse without it?
No, you cannot.
So it's not quite the same as check a trade then.
No,
It's
but that's just another example of.
so, but I mean, if you didn't have that regulatory service, then that does open it up to people who are not dental nurses then going in and fucking your mouth up.
Well, no, because
Whereas-
the place could ask to see your qualification to make sure that you had actually
Yeah, so
gone and studied it.
So yeah, but then that might have been 10 years ago, and you've forgotten an awful lot. First patient comes in, fucks her teeth up, problems. Whereas
Yeah, I mean, I think the more so if that was a dentist, that would definitely be maybe the case. But you can go to different practices and have different ways of doing things anyway. So yes, you know stuff. Like if I went back into it, I've had a couple of years out, it would take me a bit of time to get things again, but then it comes back to you. But basic things of how you do things, that's down to each. Wherever you move to different practices, they give you their procedures anyway. They should go through all of that with you because you go somewhere else and they do things completely differently. So what works in one doesn't work in another.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I've got one more question for you.
Okay.
Do you think that you have a problem with authority?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, a little bit.
Where do you think that stems from? That's 2 questions, I lied.
It is. I don't know.
Follow-up question, where do you think that stems from?
I don't think it stems from anywhere. I don't mind authority. I'm happy actually to listen to authority.
Apart from the CDC, we don't like them.
And then the thing is
Fuck the
GDC, the
CDC.
GDC.
GDC.
No,
Fuck the GDC.
It's not that. I get all that. I've gone along with it and I've done it when I've been a dental nurse. I've quite happily done everything that I was meant to do and I've done that. I just don't like it when authority doesn't make sense, and I don't like following something that doesn't make sense to me. Or
So with this-
when they're not willing to do these things themselves, that really annoys me.
So, with this third question, so you don't like authorities which don't make sense.
Yeah,
And
to me,
to you.
which obviously is.
So, and do you believe that with this pandemic, a lot of the authorities' information doesn't make sense, or
most of it.
most of it? Yeah, it has been. Does seem like there's been quite a lot of manipulation.
But I do think that
data.
that's been deliberate, obviously, to confuse people, because when people are confused, then they don't choose either way, and then they're just more scared. And when there's fear, then that means you can control people.
Yes, I mean there has been a lot of fear pushed out in the media, hasn't there? Which then when people are in fear, they look to authority for safety. So they look to the government. So everyone else going, yeah, fucking, we'll stay apart. We won't be near each other and give each other a hug.
I just can't understand it. I really can't. My brain cannot comprehend how everybody is just unquestionably going along with.
I understood
everything.
in
To
the
start with.
in the first lockdown. I understood why people were doing it, because they were scared and because they sort of couldn't see through what was happening. Like I got that.
Yeah.
But since then, we've come out, and then we've had another lockdown, which didn't make sense. And then it's just still stuff's going on now, and people aren't really dying now. And everyone knows now that there's a big question mark over the actual figures. Like everyone knows that. You should know that just by the fact within 28 days, died within 28 days of a positive test. Like that doesn't mean they've died of COVID, but they put it up as it's died of COVID.
Yeah.
Like 134, was it 134?
I don't even know anymore. I don't even look.
134,000 people in the UK have died within 28 days of a positive test. But that doesn't mean that many have died. It's
No.
going to be more likely 10, 20,000. We don't know.
And it
We don't know.
seems to
Could
be
80,000.
every step of the way as well. And also, where did flu go? There's normally 70,000 people die of flu a year, but that didn't happen.
But there was no
But there was literally 0. So that's a bit unusual. Oh, no, that was because we was all apart and wearing masks and stuff. That's why there was no flu. Even though, what's weird to me, this is when actually some of the stuff that I learnt in my dental nurse training makes me think about this, because obviously you do a lot of cross-infection courses and stuff about how it works, and you do about bacteria and viruses and things like that and how they spread and stuff. And with that being said, then a lot of the things that said just really don't make sense, like the mask wearing. I've had people say to me, because I don't wear a mask, I haven't worn a mask through that whole time, and I won't wear a mask, simple as that. But you was a dental nurse and you wore a mask because it made sense to wear a mask in that environment. You're in a clinical environment where you're constantly changing it, you're constantly washing your hands, you're dealing with sterilised things, you're then dealing with things, you've also got a lot of spray and stuff coming up from people's mouths. So it's not, having a mask and being a dental has never stopped me catching a cold or a cough from anyone that I worked with. That's not what it works, that's not how it works. It stops the spray, the aerosol in the air, the spray, the blood, the saliva, the bits of old filling, the plaque, all the disgusting things that are in people's mouths going up my nose and in my mouth. It's not stopping those kinds of germs.
It's also stopping your germs go into the patient.
Yeah, but it's more about protection of me rather than protection of the patient. You have gloves on, so the gloves obviously change. You're constantly washing your hands. They have sterilised instruments going into their mouth. That's for their protection. But the mask and the goggles and stuff you wear when you're doing that is for my protection more than the patient's.
It's quite interesting actually, because like we've spoken so much, and it's rarely ever about anything like this, is it? This is probably the longest conversation we've had about something like this, isn't it?
Well, because there's many more interesting things to talk about. It gets boring, doesn't it? If we'd have done this ranting in cars last year, you would have got a full-on angry rant from me, because I was angry for a very, very long time, but I'm not angry anymore because I can't be, because it's tiring and it was really having an effect on how I was feeling in my day-to-day life. So I just have to sort of let it go and just get on with what I'm doing, really, to be able to be sane.
That which you can't control, you must let go.
Yes. Yeah. And you've helped me be calmer, I think, being around you. I'm calmer.
Yeah, maybe because we don't talk about things that are going to anger. I purposely don't talk to people about COVID, about things like that, especially when I'm socialising. Like I was in many situations over, especially the second lockdown, but sort of throughout the summer and that, where I was with a big group of people and all they wanted to do was talk about COVID, talk about politics, talk about all that stuff. I just wanted to have a good time. I just wanted to fucking forget all that shit.
Yeah.
Just have a drink, have a laugh, have a smoke, and like listen to some music and have a sing and a dance and that. And like inevitably, always someone fucking brought up some bullshit, and it's boring. It is fucking boring.
It does get brought up. Like yesterday, I was just having a coffee with my sister, and some older guy was sat there, started talking to me, started bringing it up, and I was like. And he wasn't in like a negative way or nothing, but then it means that you sort of have to respond. And the problem is, when I respond, I'm not responding with maybe the same answer what a lot of people give, because I'm quite often disagreeing with the majority of people.
And you're quite scary when someone disagrees with you.
But the thing is because I didn't want it to be like that, and I really didn't, and I know what it wasn't like that at all. Really lovely older. I mean, he was an 80-year-old man, for goodness sake. So I'm not going to be disrespectful to him. And in the coffee shop, because I was just having a nice coffee, and I weren't really in the mood for that. But it's very difficult, because when you start talking, there's so much that I could say. I've got an answer for everything that someone puts to me is the problem, and then you're like, you could go on forever, so you have to sort of stop it somewhere, don't you? Because you could go on about all the cock-ups and the bullshit, that you could write a list all day long of all the shit, really.
Yeah, good. You got anything to say, Robes? Come here, Robes.
You chilling?
You got anything to say?
She's like, just some water please, I'm hot after that walk.
She's going to find Gizmo.